Hey guys, and Dan right here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai 252, or the 7 Deadly Sins 252, Destiny. Now, it's just come to my attention that even though I read the last chapter, I forgot totally to put up a review, so I was like, what? I didn't even realize, so thanks for letting me know, guys. But yeah, so essentially last chapter, like I could review it kind of in a very, very condensed fashion right now, which is the goddesses and the humans. So the kingdom of Lioness, they essentially form. Well, they form an alliance, and their mission is to stop Meliodas from becoming the Demon King. Well, that's the stance the seven deadly sins and the king of Lioness and Elizabeth are taking. Elizabeth being the acting captain of the seven deadly sins. So that's their thing. Oh, we're gonna stop Meliodas from becoming the Demon King. We're gonna stop him from doing all this shit. And obviously, the goddesses have their own ideas and their own deviations that you're going to take from this alliance, which is they're going to create Stigma 2.0, and they're going to replay the Holy War again. It's going to be Holy War 2.0, and they're going to try and kill as many demons as they can, and they're going to try and kill off Meliodas and prevent any form of demons from coming, and then they're going to enslave or whatever they do with humans, or maybe they're going to force the humans to pray to them or something, which will make them immortal or some shit like that. Who knows? But that's essentially what that chapter was. That was it. They essentially got the alliance with the humans and with the kingdom of Lioness and the seven deadly sins, which is specifically what they were after. Because the humans, they're okay. That's just the numbers. That's just for the that's just make sure the seven deadly sins and everyone higher than the knights of Lioness aren't fatigued by the time they get to the big guys, the great three evil stars, so Meliodas, Esteros, and Zeldris, and the rest of the commandments. So yeah, that was it. That was essentially, they just formed an alliance. So then this chapter, I liked this chapter, Nanatsu no Taizai, quite a bit. We start off with the touching scene between Elizabeth. Well, it was a touching scene, but it was also a morose scene between Elizabeth and King Bartra. Elizabeth talks of how she climbed that tree when she was younger. We've heard this story like 4 times now in this manga alone, and I'm saying, geez, that's one popular ass tree. That tree's had more freaking screen time, or more. It's been talked about more than freaking the Horn of Kernunos or something. And I'm just like, that sounds like it could be important. But she climbed that tree when she was younger, and upon Bartra falling from the tree after climbing after her, she saved him by activating her goddess powers for the first time. So that's the first time she activated her goddess powers. Now, I'm not sure if that's been mentioned before, because I can't really remember it. It might have been, it could have been, but I just don't remember that ever having been told that. So that's essentially why she covered her eye with that lock of hair, with that kind of like full fringe thing, because she was afraid that the mark of the goddesses would show, and she didn't know what it was. And also at this point, she kind of clocked that she wasn't blood related to the king and her sisters because of her eye and because of her abilities. Even though her abilities shouldn't have tipped her off, it should have just been the eye thing. And even then, in this world of magic where knights can freaking summon tornadoes from a freaking sword, and they can summon lightning and shit like that. And Meliodas was deemed like a strong ass guy, but he wasn't deemed inhuman as a knight. They can do all sorts of shit, and she clocked that she wasn't part of their bloodline just because her eye was different. I was like, that's a bit of bullshit, but she clocked something just because of her abilities and her eye, and then hence her hair, by the way, because she was trying to cover that eye. So then Bartra loses his composure, and tears are flowing and everything, and he knows the fate of his daughter, and he knowing the fate of his daughter and his friend Meliodas, which is more to a lesser degree. He knows, he cares for Meliodas, but he's not like crying over him. He's crying over the fact that he knows about the curse that Elizabeth is under, and what she has to suffer through, and what she's going to suffer through in the next few days, trying to stop Meliodas from doing whatever he's trying to do. So when you think about it, though, Bartra, my boy, has lost his sister, his brother, both in like precarious situations, and his sister kind of to a demon in Galtha, and then his brother Denzel kind of to a demon. Well, it was to a demon, Dedier, but he was possessed. Denzel was possessed by Nerobasta, a goddess who just thought, nah, this isn't my scene. She flew away, and then she saw Dedier. She was like, oh, it's you, purity commandment. And I was like, oh, you best run. She died. So then, I'm not sure if Nerobasta is actually dead, by the way. We know that Denzel died, but Nerobasta could very well be alive. She could just be a spirit flying around. We don't know. So, but what I'm trying to say is, and actually, he's also now, Bartra's also now waiting on the fate of his other daughter, Margaret. So his adopted daughter, Elizabeth, he's waiting on her fate. He's waiting on the fate of his real daughter, Margaret. And he treats them both the same. So, adopted daughter, real daughter, it doesn't matter to him. He's lost his brother, his sister. He's had a lot of shit going on. So you got to feel for my boy, Everything's going wrong for Bartra, but feel for the guy. So then we go on to Dreyfus, who knows that the goddesses ain't worth shit. All right, now Dreyfus is kind of being like the straight man. That he's our boy. He's the mind of the audience in these chapters. He speaks with his son Griamore. Now Griamore looked like he looking fleeky this chapter, man. I mean, like he was looking like he cut out like all that water weight. He been skipping those carbs just enough to keep his energy levels going. But he's really really shredded up, and I'm like, yo, Griamore's looking sick. And so he's speaking. Dreyfus is speaking with Griamore of his worries, namely Margaret's possession and Hendrickson's obsession. He then goes on to say what we've been waiting for him to say, which is why he mistrusts the goddesses so much, because he doesn't really have any ground to stand on apart from the fact that he's been possessed before and it didn't turn out so well. So we find out that through his time with Frodrin, he learned of the goddesses. Now this was a really good explanation, because they didn't just share a body, they shared their minds, and they shared essentially the same soul, because they were both dwelling in the same thing. So they were able to converse, and they lived each other's memories. And he knows that the goddesses are not as angelic as the mofos they're trying to be, and they might be more evil than they're making out to be. And he also notifies Griamore as to the goddess's ability, or the high-class goddess's abilities, to brainwash individuals, something which we see happen later this chapter, I think. So then we have Ruduciel giving a little speech to his now Stigma 2.0. And the Pleiades of the Azure Sky make a return, which is cool. I really like these guys, especially when Denzel was there. Death Pierce was really cool. So the Pleiades pop up, and they say they want no part of Stigma. We don't want none of this shit. As Denzel was essentially killed once he was possessed by Nerobasta, a goddess. Now I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, you don't want to be part of the goddesses, but they should have more of a reason to want to be part of Stigma, because their master was killed by a demon, even though he had that power from a goddess. So I was like, all right, I'm not sure why they hate the goddesses so much. Maybe it was because Nerobasta was like, nah, this ain't my type of thing, and then tried to fly away or some shit. So so even I think what's his name, Denzel, would have died anyway. So I'm not sure why, like I said before, why the Pleiades of the Azure Sky have any beef with the goddesses. Ruduciel then cries, but crocodile tears, boy. And I'm not sure if they were actually crocodile tears. I think it was actually Margaret crying behind the skin of, well, not really behind the skin of Ruduciel, behind the guise of this now Ruduciel Margaret character. And it was Margaret crying at the death of her uncle, but Ruduciel, being the soul in possession, you see a tear cry, you see a tear roll down, and they're all just like, yo, shit, it's Ruduciel's crying. Yo, these goddesses, like, they must be really emotional, and they must be really empathetic beings. And so Ruduciel essentially uses this to guilt trip the Pleiades, who had just accused the goddesses of being like these inhuman beings, incapable of emotion and incapable of bleeding with humans or feeling what humans feel. And we then get the brainwashing, which is with Ruduciel's breath of blessings or something, breath of bless, and he just goes whoop, and the entire Pleiades, they get this immediate like energy surge, they feel stronger, and they instantly decide to unite with the wholesome goddesses. And I'm just like, you're idiots, you're gonna die. So that's just the way the things are. They've been brainwashed by the looks of things. So we also had Hendrickson ask the whereabouts of Mael. Now we've been asking this for ages, and the heavily anticipated Mael is the heavily anticipated fourth archangel. If you haven't really clocked on by now, you should have. So the three archangels, this was a really weird reaction. They all looked incredibly pissed. They were triggered when he asked them, where's Mael? You're the four archangels, I only see three, can't y'all count? And then I'm sure Hendrickson didn't Aoyama at this point at this point in the chapter. He straight shit himself. He was shitting bricks. So then we'll come back onto that later, but actually no, We'll go straight on to that right now. So Rudusiel then goes on to say that Mael was killed by a commandment, Esterossa. So he doesn't mention Esterossa, but Esterossa's image pops up, and he's standing over this angelic body and his hands covered in blood, and he's just looking at him, down at the body like, oh yeah, I just toasted this guy. So I'm like, yo, could this have been the trigger for the war? The trigger for the war before the whole Meliodas Elizabeth thing. So then Esterossa, you look at him and he looks untouched. No way he could just take out one of the supposedly the strongest archangel by his wand so easily. I mean, like, you look at him, he is completely unscathed. There's nothing wrong with him. His chest is fine. He's just there benching 200 like he does anyway. And he stood over Mael, who looks to be dead on the floor. We don't necessarily know if that is Mael, but judging from the context, that's Mael dead on the floor, dying on the floor. And Esterossa's just there, clean shaven shit. He's fine, This dude's toasty. Nothing's happened to him. I'm just like, yo, bruh. Like, unless Mael was obviously affected by Esterossa's commandment, which I think is love. I think it is love. I think, maybe, let me know. But essentially, if you carry hate in your heart towards him, you can't damage anyone, you can't hurt anyone, or you can't hurt him. So he's just there, like, bruh. I don't know what's happened there, but Esterossa has taken out Mael, and this is obviously all from the goddess's perspective, something you have to keep in mind, because we know the goddesses are slimy little shits. So we'll get back to that. So I like I said before, I think I smell a story of betrayal, friendship, and a little bit of revenge along the lines. Now, people are saying a whole bunch of different things online, and this is obviously the fun part. People are saying maybe, like, because of the way that Esterossa is stood over Mael, and they're talking about Mael, maybe Esterossa is Mael. If you're thinking about perspectives, maybe Mael's the one that stood there, and because he's a demon now, they're like, he was killed by the commandments. Because he became a commandment, he essentially was killed by the commandments, and then he became a demon like the rest of them. Now, I think no. I think no. And I'm pretty sure about this, because in chapter 2, 4, 5, this is for the people who are saying that maybe Mael is Esterossa. Now, in chapter 245, Rudusiel refers to Zeldris, Meliodas, and Esterossa as the great three evil stars. Now, if Mael was Esterossa, people were saying that maybe they haven't seen Esterossa, so in canon they haven't seen Esterossa, so they haven't realized that, oh my god, Mael is the commandment. Mael became a commandment. They thought he died or something because of the commandments, but in essence he went to the commandments. Now, this is bullshit. The fact that they know of the three great evil stars, or the great three evil stars, means they know of Esterossa. They've probably seen Esterossa, and they know that that's not what Mael looked like. He isn't Mael. So I doubt very much that Mael is Esterossa, and because of Rudusiel's confirmation that they were in fact the great three evil stars, and not just Zeldris and Meliodas, and maybe there might be somebody else there. Also, we've seen flashback of Esterossa when Meliodas was the commander of the commandments, and he's just there wiping out goddesses and stuff like that. And you see Esterossa in his younger form. He looks like a kind of kid version of Meliodas, if you don't think Meliodas looks like a kid anyway. But you see him then, so it's not like he was a goddess that was then adopted by the Demon King. It doesn't look like that fits. I think Esterossa, despite what everyone thinks, is in fact the Demon King's son. He's just another son of the Demon King, one of the three. There is something going on with him, though, something in relation to the goddesses. I don't quite know what. So people are saying that maybe Mael has possessed Esterossa. Now, there may be some credibility to this, but on a slightly different scale. I think it could be true that upon death, Mael possessed Esterossa, but kind of like in this hibernation mode kind of thing. And only upon the rebirth of his comrades could he come back, and then this would tie in with Esterossa's dream of Elizabeth. He sees her in his dreams, and this is maybe kind of like a goddess link. And this is Mael's memories coming to the fore. But there's also something wrong with this, because Esterossa's dreams, he only dreamed of Elizabeth he actually only dreamed of Elizabeth before Rudusiel came back. So that's it sounds wrong. Rudusiel came back. Rudusiel wasn't even in the story, having come back when Esterossa was dreaming up. So it's not like, so Mael's coming to the fore in terms of his possession shouldn't really have occurred at this point. If that whole hibernation thing and needing other goddesses to kind of reactivate him if that whole thing was true. So I don't think it's that either. I don't think Esteros has been possessed, and Esteros would know. I think a goddess and a demon of high caliber would know if there was another soul lingering around within them, you know. So then people are saying maybe Arthur is Mael's reincarnation. To that I say nah. I think he's just Arthur. I think Arthur is just Arthur, a human who may have a high affinity for the goddess's magic for some reason. Maybe he's related to Mael or another goddess or something like that. Maybe he's a descendant of some goddess, or maybe he's a descendant of someone the supreme deity blessed or some shit like that. Also, that statue we saw in chapter 245 looks to be Mael, like I mentioned then, and people were like, nah, I don't think so. And I'm like, yeah, I think so, because you don't erect a statue like that in honor of someone who wasn't a badass. I mean, people were saying the demon, the door to the demon world was covered in faces and things like that, and they couldn't have been high level demons. Yeah, but that's a doorway constructed of millions of faces of like some lesser demons. That's just a gruel, what's it called, a ghoulish looking thing, and it's kind of gruesome looking. It wasn't really, I don't think those faces were of demons. I think they were just faces in general. I don't think they were depicting any high level demons. But this is a statue. This is something, a huge statue, by the way, and those are hardly ever erected without the purpose being in honor of someone. You know, you don't, there's a statue in Birmingham of Queen Victoria, and it's not like she was some waste man or something. She was freaking Queen of England, fam. So I'm just like, bruh, that statue is there because that statue, the person who the statue embodies, must have been a badass, and I think it was Mael. So, and especially because when we see Mael's hair in this chapter, it looks to maybe be Mael, you know, that blondish or light colored hair with some curl to it. It looks to be Mael. And any way you look at it, this is coming back to the goddess's reactions. Their reactions when asked by Hendrickson about the whereabouts of Mael is very suspect. They were all incredibly angered. Like I said, they were triggered by the question, as if the question itself brings shame to them. Now, I'm not sure how my story now is going to bring shame to them, but there's got to be the story I'm about to, like, upon reading this now, I realize that it's not going to bring shame to them. This whole thing that I've thought up is clueless, but I'll read it out anyway because I thought about it. So this sounds like a situation where the archangels may have betrayed one of their own. I'm assuming Mael was cut of the same cloth as Meliodas and Elizabeth, someone who's kind, gentle, and accepting of all races. And the goddesses needed a reason to go to war with the demons, and they blame the demons for something, and then they send Mael over as kind of like the judiciary kind of guy, you know, the mediator, or the emissary of peace almost. So during this time, they then send, while Mael's going after the demons, they send someone else to go tip off the demons that the Archangel Mael is coming to attack. So then the commandants mobilize and they kill Mael. They're just like, bitch, I don't think so. And then the goddesses now have a reason to go to war with the demons. But why would this shame the goddesses? You know, why would that bring shame upon them? So there's got to be another reason why talking about Mael brings them shame. You know, they did something. They did some sneaky shit behind the back of Mael, which then caused Esteros to maybe kill him, because we know the goddesses are never faultless in this story. That's why people were saying, why do people prefer the demons over the goddesses? They're both killing humans like they're nothing, like they're sheep. But the thing is, the demons don't pretend to be something they're not. There may be demons who have that kind of ability. They pretend to be someone like Galther or something like that, or they possess people or some shit like that. But all in all, the demons know who they are, and they know what they're like, and they kill humans without saying like, oh, we're your saviors, and then making the humans go do some shit, and then pretending like they have nothing to do with it. But the goddesses are incredibly, they have this kind of guile, this wit, and they force other people, they force lesser beings like humans to go and do their dirty shit, and then they'll fight back only when they feel they need to. And it's all very dirty work with the goddesses. You know, at least the demons keep things clean. The goddesses are just very, very sneaky and kind of backstabby. So that's why I don't like the goddesses. So yeah, I went on this, like, there's going to be a cut halfway through this video because my memory card, it was actually it filled up, and I was like, shit. So yeah, so I'm going to have to cut out the audio as well. We'll see how that goes. But a long ass review this time for a chapter where not too much actually, like, I didn't think I'd go on for this long, but you know, the whole Esterosa hype over this Mael thing was obviously going to send it over the edge. So yeah, probably like a 20-minute review. So let me know what you guys thought. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will try to get my One Punch Man review out by the end of this week. And tomorrow hopefully should be One Piece. So I'll see you guys in less than 24 hours. So I'll see you guys then.